I hate you. I hate all of this.
The scissors trembled in Naomi's hand. A strip of white satin slipped to the floor. 3 days before her wedding, her entire world had already begun to fall apart. She couldn't stop staring at the message on her phone. She had read it 100 times, hoping somehow the words would change. But the truth remained the same. The man she planned to marry had been hiding something devastating. The wedding dress still hung nearby. Just days ago it represented joy. Now it felt like a painful reminder of shattered dreams. Naomi felt completely alone. The future she had imagined for years suddenly seemed impossible to reach. Just weeks earlier, everyone thought Naomi had the perfect life. She was known as one of the most faithful women in church. She led Bible studies, served faithfully, and encouraged others whenever they were struggling. People admired her commitment to God. Few knew how much pressure she secretly carried. Then there was Daniel, the man everyone believed was the answer to Naomi's prayers. He was kind, respected, and seemed deeply devoted to God. Everyone trusted him. When they started dating, many people said they were a match made in heaven. The day Daniel proposed felt like a dream come true. Naomi believed God was blessing her future. The entire church celebrated their engagement. Congratulations poured in from every direction. Their engagement photos looked perfect. Their smiles looked real. Their future looked secure. Online, their relationship looked like a testimony. Everyone saw happiness. Nobody saw the cracks. 3 nights before the wedding, Naomi sat at the table organizing final details. Daniel had left his laptop open before heading to the gym. She wasn't searching for secrets. She only wanted to print an updated guest list. Then a message notification appeared, followed by another, and another. Something about those messages made her pause. A feeling she couldn't explain settled in her chest. Curiosity turned into concern. Concern turned into fear as she clicked the conversation. The words on the screen didn't make sense at first. Her mind refused to accept them. The conversation stretched back months. Not days. Months. Every new message revealed another lie she never expected to uncover. The man she trusted most was living a secret life. She sat there for hours, unable to move, unable to think, unable to breathe normally. Later that evening, Daniel walked through the door completely unaware of what awaited him. The moment he saw her face, he knew she had discovered the truth. The room fell silent. Neither of them knew where to begin. Finally, Daniel spoke her name. But his voice sounded unfamiliar now. There was only one question Naomi needed answered. How long had the lies lasted? Daniel lowered his eyes. The answer he gave shattered what remained of her heart. Almost a year. Nearly their entire engagement had been built on deception. The room spun around her. Every memory suddenly felt different. Daniel begged to explain. But explanations could not erase betrayal. That night Naomi told him to leave. For the first time she faced the future alone. After the door closed, Naomi finally collapsed beneath the weight of her grief. She barely slept, barely ate. The pain followed her everywhere. She prayed for answers. She prayed for understanding. Heaven felt silent. Why now, God? Why 3 days before the wedding? The invitations had already been sent. The plans were already made. Soon the news spread through church. People who once celebrated now mourned with her. Her pastor reached out with prayer and encouragement, but Naomi struggled to listen. She wasn't only angry at Daniel. Deep down she felt angry at God too. The dress remained untouched. Every bead seemed to represent a broken dream. A message arrived from her maid of honor reminding her she wasn't alone. That night she opened her Bible, not because she felt faithful, but because she felt desperate. Her eyes landed on a verse she had read many times before. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. She didn't know it yet, but God's painful no was about to become the greatest protection of her life. The next morning, Naomi sat alone inside the church. The same place that once felt comforting now felt painfully unfamiliar. She had prayed here for years, yet now every prayer seemed trapped somewhere between heaven and earth. Pastor James quietly sat beside her. For a while, neither of them said anything. Finally he spoke. Sometimes, God's protection arrives disguised as disappointment. Those words only frustrated Naomi. Protection wasn't what this felt like. This felt like destruction. Meanwhile, rumors spread quickly throughout the congregation. Everyone wanted answers. Some people prayed for her. Others speculated about what had happened behind closed doors. Every look of sympathy felt like another reminder that her life had fallen apart publicly. When she finally returned home, the silence felt heavier than ever. Wedding decorations filled every corner of the apartment. Evidence of a future that no longer existed. Each box contained memories she wasn't ready to face. The invitations, the flowers, the seating charts. Every detail represented months of hope. Then her phone rang. Daniel's name appeared on the screen. Part of her wanted to ignore him forever. Another part needed answers. After a long pause, she answered. Daniel sounded broken. Not because he had been caught, but because his secrets were finally exposed. For the first time, he stopped making excuses. He admitted there was far more Naomi didn't know. The affair was only one part of a much deeper pattern of deception. Every new confession felt like another crack spreading through her heart. He had hidden major financial problems from her. Thousands of dollars in debt had been buried beneath years of secrecy. He admitted he had been living two different lives. Naomi couldn't believe what she was hearing. She barely recognized the man she loved. When the conversation ended, the silence returned. But this time something felt different. For the first time, she realized the affair wasn't the only thing God had exposed. The relationship she mourned wasn't entirely real. Much of it had been built on illusion. That realization hurt deeply. Yet it also brought unexpected clarity. What if losing this wedding was saving her from something worse? That evening, she opened her Bible once more. This time she wasn't looking for answers. She was looking for strength. The words seemed different now. Not easier. Just more personal. Over the following days, friends surrounded her with support she never expected. Meals arrived at her door. Prayers filled her voicemail. Slowly, God began showing His love through people around her. The pain remained, but small moments of hope started breaking through. She began writing down every lesson she was learning through the heartbreak. One sentence kept appearing over and over again. God saw what I couldn't see. For weeks she had seen herself as rejected. Now she started seeing herself as protected. The shift was small at first, but it was changing everything. She wasn't healed yet, but she was moving forward. The wedding dress still existed. The memories still hurt. But she no longer saw the dress as proof of failure. She began seeing it as evidence that God intervened before it was too late. Months later, Pastor James would remind her of something she never forgot. God's greatest blessings are not always the doors He opens. Sometimes they are the doors He closes. For the first time, Naomi truly understood those words. What felt like the end of her story had actually been a rescue. And soon, God would reveal an even greater purpose hidden behind the heartbreak that nearly destroyed her. 6 months passed. The pain hadn't completely disappeared. But Naomi was no longer living inside the darkest chapter of her life. Little by little, she rebuilt routines that heartbreak had stolen from her. She spent more time with God than ever before, not because life was easy, but because she needed Him. The questions that once filled her prayers were slowly being replaced by trust. The church that once reminded her of embarrassment now reminded her of healing. The same people who witnessed her heartbreak also witnessed her restoration. Soon, women began approaching her with struggles they had never shared before. Her pain had become a source of comfort for others facing their own battles. For the first time, Naomi saw how God could use brokenness to help heal someone else. The wounds still existed, but they no longer controlled her future. Then one afternoon, she received news she never expected. A mutual friend mentioned that Daniel's life had continued unraveling after the wedding was canceled. The secrets Naomi discovered had only been the beginning. More hidden problems surfaced. More lies came to light. The life he carefully constructed eventually collapsed under the weight of truth. Hearing that news brought an unexpected realization. Had she married him, she would have been trapped inside that collapse. What felt like rejection had actually been rescue. For the first time, she thanked God for saying no. Not because the heartbreak was good, but because God's protection was greater. Months later, Naomi shared her testimony before the congregation. The room became silent as she described the worst week of her life. She talked about the tears, the confusion, and the anger she once felt toward God. Many people saw their own struggles reflected in her story. Then she shared the lesson God had taught her through every painful moment. Sometimes God's answer is no because He sees what we cannot. Sometimes His protection hurts before it heals. And sometimes the blessing we cry over losing was never meant for us. The room remained quiet as her words settled into every heart present. For the first time, she felt completely free from the past. The chapter that nearly destroyed her no longer defined her. God had taken her greatest disappointment and transformed it into wisdom. Her future was no longer centered around what she lost. It was centered around what God was still building. And every day she discovered new reasons to trust Him. The Lord truly had been close to the brokenhearted. Even when she couldn't feel His presence, He never left her side. Looking back, she could finally see God's fingerprints across every painful detail. The dress was no longer a symbol of loss. It had become a reminder that God's plans are higher than ours. Sometimes faith means trusting God when nothing makes sense. Sometimes faith means believing He is working even through heartbreak. And sometimes faith means accepting that closed doors can save your life. The answer she wanted was yes, but the answer she needed was no. And that painful no became one of the greatest blessings she ever received. If you're waiting for God to explain a disappointment, don't give up. The chapter you're grieving today may be protecting you from a future you cannot see. Trust Him in the silence. Trust Him in the waiting. Trust Him in the pain. Because the same God who closes doors is also preparing new ones beyond the horizon. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today. And remember, God's no may be the beginning of your greatest blessing. God bless you.